Having entered your home details, next you want to enter your fixed costs. Now before we go in, I just want to clarify that the reason why this tool needs all of your fixed costs and your staff costs is because you want to establish just how much it costs to run your care home on what will essentially be a weekly basis. And then we divide that by your average occupancy or your capacity, whatever it is you put in the home details, to reach your minimum cost per resident. And then on top of that, in your individual fees, you add on any extra costs, your profits, and so on. So that's the whole reason why we need to establish what your fixed and staff costs are. Staff costs are clearly the costs of employing staff and extra employer costs and agency, and everything else falls under fixed costs. So if we enter fixed costs, this is what you will see. So for fixed costs, you're entering everything that is a staff cost. So utilities, housekeeping, kitchen, food, loans, insurance, professional fees like accountants and so on, your CQC fees, everything that isn't a staff cost essentially. All this section needs is your average monthly fixed cost. It will then divide that into weeks and divide that by the number of residents you have, your average occupancy, your capacity, whatever it is you put in the home details section. So if you use a different tool to record your fixed costs, then you only need to put a single number in this section here. So if you have a tool that you record all of your costs as you go, and from that tool you can establish an average monthly fixed cost, then simply put that average monthly fixed cost in here. And that's the key thing. You want to establish what your average monthly fixed cost is. Now, costs have been increasing dramatically since 2021, so it's really important that you establish an accurate rolling average. So whatever tool you use, whether it's an accountancy tool, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's our running cost calculator, because at least I know our running cost calculator does that, the tool needs to give you a rolling average. Because each month, of course, your costs are going to change slightly, and that will change your monthly break-even cost per resident. But you can't change your fee every month to ensure that you continue to get the profit that you need. So therefore, you need to establish a rolling average. So if you don't use a tool to record your costs as you go, then you need to check what your costs have been since October, say October 22, which is when inflation peaked, and see since October 22 what your monthly costs have been, and from that work out an average monthly cost. And if you don't currently record your costs on a weekly basis to establish what your monthly costs are, I highly recommend that you do, and do check out our running cost calculator. So on this page, we have a summary of your costs, which is a summary of these more detailed tables. So like I say, if you already do this, then you only need to enter one line in the first table. But you can use this tool to add more information regarding your costs. But this won't give the granularity you need with regards to actually staying on top of your costs as you run your business. These I buttons throughout the tool give you some guidance on what to do, but I thoroughly recommend before you start any section, you check the video guides, and there's also the online user guide. This running cost and daily care allowance summary I'll come to after we've looked at staff costs. So when you want to enter your details, you press edit. So as I said, if you already know your average monthly fixed cost, simply enter it in this first table. So you could enter and whatever that fixed cost is, let's say it's £10,000, just to put a number in there, and save. So it's saying fixed cost on a monthly basis is £10,000. Therefore, on a weekly basis, so this is average, your rolling average you've worked out is £10,000. So on a weekly basis, that is £2,307.69. Divide that by, in this case, I think the details were 47 residents, or the number of residents you have, and you have that weekly cost per resident. And that's it. That's your fixed cost per resident. So when you build your fees, straight away you know that £46.15 in this case is your starting point, and then whatever the staff costs worked out to be, which obviously will be a lot more, to reach your break-even point for that resident and for every resident that you have, regardless of their extra individual care needs. That comes later in the individual fee. Now, of course, if you don't record your costs, but you have worked out what average costs are for different elements, you can put in more granularity and split this up into different sections, like utilities in this case, for the first one. And you could say gas, let's just say is £2,000, and then add a row, electricity, hit tab to move across, or use your mouse, and then add a row, water, £200, let's say, and so on. And as you see, you have a total appearing here, and that total appears here. Now let's say with the next table you put kitchen. Kitchen appears here, and then you put in food, and whatever your monthly average cost of food is, let's say is maybe £3,000. And you can put in consumables, cleaning, however you want to record your costs are up to you. You see the total is in here. Add more rows to give more detail if you wish. This will add up, and this will keep adding up with regards to how much per resident. This could be housekeeping here. If I could spell housekeeping. When housekeeping appears here, you can add a table and add more categories. So you can have up to 8 tables. So this really is a summary of your average costs, and this isn't a tool to monitor your costs. That's where you need a tool like the running cost calculator. Whatever information you need to put in here, the key thing is that you need to establish what your total fixed costs are and go in as much or as little detail as you need. As you see, the table adds up monthly, then weekly, and hence per resident by dividing by the capacity number in the home details. Now I've filled one in another ID, so this one has more information in it. As you see, there's other categories, but clearly that doesn't show all of the fixed costs for a care home. But you see how the costs will add up. So we would add another table in there for kitchen, for example. So if we put this into edit mode, and if you wanted to add another table, as I said, kitchen, and another table for some other category, you can. And then once you're happy, you can save and stay on the page, save to go back to the home screen, or save and move to staff costs.